What's up YouTube, Dara here from Zephyr, and today I'm bringing you another post-Alliance Insight update. Today is the turn of Skull Servants. Now I've actually tried to make this pure Skull Servant, which means there is no Mizuki, there is no Unizombie, it is literally the main monsters of your deck. Your OTK pushes, your OTK plays, your entire plays are all going to revolve around the Skull Servants. Now they received 2 brand new cards thanks to Alliance Insight, and they are both actually amazing for the strategy, and one of them is a card that this deck has been missing and lacking for a long time. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm going to bring you, as I've been doing lately, the main, the extra, and of course the side, so you have an idea of what you might want to be looking for depending on the environment you are taking it to. So with that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into the profile and show you what we've got. So starting off with your Mac Daddy boss monster. Yeah, I know it's not every day that a level 1 is your boss monster, but the king of the Skull Servants is exactly that. So the original attack of this card becomes the combined number of King of the Skull Servants and Skull Servants in your graveyard times 1000. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to banish one other King of the Skull Servants or a Skull Servant from the graveyard and special summon this card. Not once per turn, so as long as you've got Skull Servants or King of the Skull Servants, you're just able to keep doing it. And the reason this is so good is all of your other Skull Servant cards or White Mares or White Lords or anything like that are treated as Skull Servant in the graveyard. Speaking of which, of course, we do play Free White Lord. So this card name becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. If you have Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servants in your graveyard, you can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard to send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard up to the number of Skull Servants and King of the Skull Servants in your graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard to then target a Skull Servant or King in the graveyard and special summon it. Then we do have Free of the White Prince. If this card is sent to the graveyard by any means, you get to send a Skull Servant and a Lady in White from your hand and or deck to the graveyard. You can banish 2 Skull Servants and this card from the graveyard to special summon a King of the Skull Servants from the deck. This card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. Then we do play Free White Bacon. This card's name again becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. If a level 3 or lower zombie monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you get to banish this, discard this card instead. If this card is sent to graveyard, you get to add 2 monsters with different names from the deck to the hand except itself that are either Skull Servant or specifically list Skull Servant in their text. Then discard 1 card. You only use each effect once per turn. So again, it's just another way of getting access to stuff like Prince and King or anything else like that, and then you discard Prince and then off you go. Then the brand new card, which I really hope in the next OTS gets a foil upgrade quite like the White Lord did, is the Mosiah White. So this card's name again becomes Skull Servant while in the grave. If it is normal or special, you get to add a Skull Servant or a card that specifically mentions it from the deck to the hand except itself. You can't special for the rest of the turn except zombies, which is absolutely fine. You can only use this effect once per turn, and then during your main phase you get to an additional normal summon of a level 4 or lower zombie in addition to a normal summon or set. You only get to gain this effect once per turn. We are then on 2 Skull Servants, followed up by 2 White Princesses. So this card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the graveyard. If this card is normal or special, you get to send a White Prince from the deck to the grave, and then there's a quick effect. You can send this card from the hand or field to the graveyard. All monsters you currently control on the currently on the field lose attack and defense equal to their own level and rank times 300. So obviously the idea is that your levels are only ever really going to be 1, so they're not going to lose a lot. Whereas your opponent should have higher levels and ranks depending on the versions or the decks that are being played. We then have 2 Lady in White. So face up level 3 or lower zombie monsters on the field except itself cannot be destroyed by battle. Also this card, they are unaffected by spell and trap cards and their effects. And this card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the grave. This is one of the other ones that also needs a foil upgrade, because then all of your Skull Servants would be, well, at the very least could be supers, which would be really kind of cool. You can get a Skull Servant as a super in Speed Duels. Mosiah is obviously the brand new one. And the only one that I don't believe is a super rare is the White Mare, which we are playing 2 of. So this card's name becomes Skull Servant while in the grave. You can discard this card to then activate one of the following effects. Target one of your banished Skull Servants or White Mares, return it to the graveyard. Target one of your banished Lady in White or King of the Skull Servants and special summon it. Obviously, more times than not, you're going to be summoning out the King, but then you can summon out the Lady in White just to give you a bit more protection. Now, one thing to note as well is with Prince, because it specifically has to send Skull Servant and Lady in White from the hand and or deck to the graveyard, you kind of want to be considering you could play it too if you wanted to, but it's just one of the ones you want to get access to as early as you possibly can, and hard opening it is not as bad as hard opening up a Lady and a Skull Servant, as I know that was a question that I was previously poised, and I was kind of say, well, the idea behind this is I want to see White Prince in my hand. If I see it and I've got it as a discard outlet, which I will do with a couple of other cards, it can be very, very effective. And then the other brand new card that we received is White Reanimator. If your King of the Skull Servants attacks a defense position monster and flip piercing battle damage, finally, my opponent cannot just wall up on my King of the Skull Servant with like 10 to 20,000 attack. Just goes, oh, okay then. And then inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Once per turn, you get to target a Skull Servant or King of the Skull Servant in your graveyard. Send a Skull Servant or a monster that mentions it from the deck. Oh, glory, glory, glory. And if you do special summon the targeted monster, you can't special summon for the rest of the turn except zombies. I don't care, because I ain't special summoning except zombies. That's what I love. So I can't wait to see this get upgraded as a foil as well. I really hope that it does. Just super rares, nothing too crazy. Super rares, that's what we want. But this card is exactly what it's missing. I've actually taken out the Pentastag from the extra deck because I'm not really going to rely on that much, and because I'm locking myself into zombies more times than not, I don't think I need it, and this card's just crazy good, and the fact that it lists Skull Servant means it's very easily searchable. Then if you have access to it, I advise you to play Molchami Fluoros. So because this is a relatively pure build, I have gone a lot more aggression. The idea is I want to get to my cards as possible. I want to be utilizing cards that let me put as many cards from my hand or deck to the grave as possible, unless I go up to a 60 card version, and then that's when you'd play that Grass Looks Greener. But for now, I've tried to keep it as a 40 card option, and you want to be playing hand traps that technically make your opponent either give you huge amounts of advantage or skip their turn. Right now, the best card for that is Fluoros, and more times than not, with your Skull Servant deck, you're going to always want to be going second in game one. Whether you lose or win the dice roll, more times than not, you will be going second, so this is the best one for you. If you go to an environment where Meowis is better for you or Perudia is better for you, by all means go for it. I just feel that this, with the amount of reprints it's currently had because of Rarity Collection, making it a lot more accessible, should be an ideal one to be going for. If you don't have access to it, you can sub it out. You can put some of your side deck cards in the main deck. You can put in more field breakers. It really is up to you. Then I am also playing free Pot of Extravagance. So again, I'm going second. My going second strategy, I don't really want to be accessing my extra deck, so I don't mind about playing Pot of Extravagance. I want to get access to my Skull cards as much as I possibly can, and then be able to push on from there. We're then playing Forbidden Droplet, like an insane card for a deck like this that wants their cards in the graveyard and then also be able to negate your opponent's monster effects is really, really important. So being able to utilize a card like Forbidden Droplet just gives you that nice additional edge. I then am playing one Curse of the Ancient Turtle. Technically acts as a Foolish Burial because it lets you banish a zombie from the hand or grave to then send a zombie from the deck to the grave. When your zombie monster is destroyed by battle, you get to banish this card from the grave, special summon a zombie monster with 2,000 or less defense, which all of your Skull Servants will have, and then special summon a zombie monster with 2,000 or less defense from the deck. You can only use each effect once per turn, so the idea is just going to get me my king and go from there. Foolish Burial pretty much doing the same job, card destruction, and then 1-for-1 because all apart from stuff like the White Mare, the Lady in White and your White Princess are all level 1s. So these are just going to be free monster discard fodder and then summon out of a king or a Skull Servant or anything else you might need. So that's it for the entire main deck, moving on to the extra deck. So for our zombie extra deck cards, you are going to want to use the Avendread Saviour. So this one obviously just requires 2 zombies, and it becomes Revendread Slayer while on the field. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You get to target a Vendread card in your graveyard, add it to the hand, but more times than not, during damage calculation, if this battles an opponent's monster, quick effect, send a zombie monster from the deck to the grave. That opponent's monster loses attack equal to the level of that monster sent to the graveyard times 200. Now obviously that's not going to be a massive attack stack swing, but the idea is you're putting another Skull Servant in the graveyard, which in turn, if it has an effect when it gets sent to the graveyard, will put more in the graveyard for you, meaning your King of the Skull Servant is going to become even stronger. We then play the one Vampire Sucker. For the pure fact that you now don't care about putting a monster on your opponent's field, you can bring it back in defense and go, cool, I just brought back your Veiler and I'm going to punch that for game. So if you would tribute summon a monster for a tribute summon, you get to tribute a zombie monster your opponent controls, even though you do not control them, which very rarely you're going to be doing that. Then you get to use each of the following effects once per turn. Target one monster your opponent graveyard, special summon it to your opponent's field in defense, but it becomes a zombie. And then if a zombie monster is specialed from either graveyard, draw a card. So you can very easily make this and then technically summon from your graveyard to draw a card. But more times than not, you can actually just give your opponent a card back from their grave and then go, okay, cool, draw a card, and then setting up my King of the Skull Servant to punch for game. Then for our non-zombies, we do have the Almirage and the Anima. There will be times that you'll normal summon one of your lower level monsters, being something like your Mosea, get your additional normal summon off, or you'll summon out something like a White Prince, and you need to get it to the graveyard, so you just need to link it off and go from there. Then for your generics, obviously you got your SP Little Knight, and then we do play a very small XYZ package of the one Fuko. So this is just if you get something like D-Shifted, for example, you'd work your way into a Fuko. This then is unaffected by other card effects, and then you get a quick effect to detach 2 materials from this card. For the rest of the turn, it can't be destroyed by battle, and you take no battle damage from attacks involving this. So you'd just sit this in defense, you'd lay out or you'd stall out the Droll turn or the Shifter turn, and then you'd be able to move into the next turn, which you could, if in theory, work it into a Downard and a Zeus. Speaking of Downers and Zeus, we do play the one Nightingale. The idea behind this one is that you get to attack directly with this, turn it into a Downard, and then turn it into a Zeus, and then you just field clear and control in that position from there. Typhon, just for those odd giant scenarios. Again, reminder, you're going to be locking yourself into zombies more times than not, so you do need to keep in mind when you're going to want to activate these, but these are just here as a failsafe. And then the cards that we're going to be sending off of our side deck choices. If you want to main deck Metal Tronus, you can do. If you want to main deck Ultimate Slayer, Super Poly, these are the spaces you can work with. We've got a side deck of Ultimate Slayer. So the targets we have on that one is Malong for the Synchros, Natis and Garura for the Fusions, Agitator for the XYZs, and then Ferrojeet for the Links. Of course, you can play the level 5 or the Link 5 if you wanted to. I just felt that it wasn't really necessary. But you can also play the Link 4 Live Twin as well. But then it means you have to side in the other Live Twin to get a 2-for-1 deal. But that's entirely up to you. Moving on to the extra deck, side deck. So for the side deck, we've got 2 True Tactics Thrusts. And the reason we've got 2 Thrusts, which you can play it free if you want to, is that we're going to be trying to access as many targets as possible. So you've got Harpy's Feather Duster, Ultimate Slayer, True Tactics Talents, Less Reliant, this could very easily become the 3rd Thrust. Lightning Storm, so these are all for like go second. And then for go first, you've got your Artifact Sanctum, you've got your Destructive Daruma Cannon, and of course you do have your Dimension Barrier. Dimension Barrier can become any particular trap card that you feel is going to be effective. If you think DDG is going to be better in a particular matchup you're going for, then by all means go for that instead. That will then give you the option to kind of work into it. Then for other go second cards is Book of Eclipse. I was main decking this, and then I felt that Fluoros was going to be a better option, just like more balanced. If you don't want to be playing this, or you have access to Purulia or Meowist, these will become Meowist very easily for the upcoming format, so that's just something to keep in mind. You also do have Fantastical Dragon Phantasma that you can also consider, but then one card that is probably going to be in everybody's side decks right now is going to be Artifact Lancia. So this is obviously a staple, and then from that point on, you basically just build and add whatever you feel like really works for the environment you're taking it to. Obviously, there isn't much Blue Eyes hate for this one. All you need to do is make sure you don't attack a Maiden, because if you attack a Maiden, they're just going to tag out into something else. But if they put anything in defense, or you get anything to defense, your King of the Skull Servant is going to be a lot stronger than a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and that will pretty much get the job done for you. So that is it for the entire profile. I hope this given you a bit of an insight into the deck. I really do love the new additions of this one, and I do like how we get drip-fed Skull Servant support every now and then. I think it is really, really kind of cool, and each one of them has added more to the deck, which I think is great. There hasn't been a Skull Servant support, White Lord, Mosea White, or anything like that, White Bacon, that hasn't made the deck better, and this one, like, they just kind of seem like custom cards. This searches this gives you an additional normal summon, you get this into the graveyard as another Skull Servant. Your additional normal summon gives you a rank 1 access if you do have a rank 1 zombie. But just being able to get to the White Reanimation is going to set up your OTK piercing ability, reviving from the graveyard, you name it. It just gives you everything you need, and I absolutely love it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions, by all means, put them in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.